Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael, and today we're going to be taking a look at several different stories from Reddit involving infidelity. These stories get pretty infuriating, so get ready. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get started. This first story was posted in r/trueoffmychest back in June of 2023. It's titled, "My husband is cheating on me with my best friend." I'm honestly not sure where to start, so I guess I'll just start. My husband and I have been dating since I was 19 and he was 22. We've been married for 6 years now. We have 2 kids and I'm 6 months pregnant with our third. 2 years ago, I found out my dad has stage 3 colon cancer. My dad is my only parent as my mom passed away when I was 12. He's my favorite human and life without him doesn't seem as colorful. His laugh is contagious and he gives these big bear hugs that seem to make all of your broken pieces feel like they're perfectly in place again. Whenever I've had a hard day, he doesn't poke and prod and just lets me vent and listens. About 5 months ago, we discovered the treatments aren't working for him, and in the direct quote from the doctor, he said, "Months, not years." Since then, he's gotten progressively worse and now is losing memory. He looked at the dog he got for me on my 21st birthday and said, "Wow, that's a nice dog. Where'd you get it?" My husband has been my absolute rock. He has been there for me, holding my hand and helping me through this. He's been so loving and attentive to both my kids and I. Don't get me wrong, I am a mother first always. I don't allow myself to wallow. My kids are still loved, cared for, played with, and I haven't let my load slack around the house. Once my dad got his updated prognosis, my husband encouraged me to quit my job. About a month later, we discovered we were pregnant again, and I still hadn't let go of my job. I kept holding out for some reason. After finding out I was pregnant again, he assured me it was still okay to quit my job, that honestly, it would save us a small fortune on daycare costs anyway. So I did. I quit my job. My best friend and I have been friends since diapers. Her family is like my family and vice versa. My mom and her mom grew up together. We've always been solid. Right after my dad's appointment, when we found out he had so little time left, I drove straight to her house, and she held me while I cried for hours. If there are soulmates in friend form, she was mine. Thick as thieves is what my mom used to say. This morning, as I was up with my 3-year-old, my husband's work alarm went off. He always sets a few of them, so I turned that one off and gently woke him up. He said he was up late working, so he took the morning off, rolled over, and went back to sleep. As I went to turn off the remainder of his alarms, I saw a text from my friend on his lock screen that said, "I'm assuming since there hasn't been an angry pregnant lady on my doorstep, you haven't told her about us yet." Time froze at that moment. I took his phone and walked away and just read their conversations. For 4 months, this man has been my best friend. For 4 months, these people have been lying to my face, and I know what you're going to say. You should have seen the warning signs, but I've been clutching this phone in my hand for 2 hours and nothing. He has been so loving and attentive to me, but he always has been. So kind and gentle. There have been no late night work nights except for once in a blue moon. There have been no lingering touches between them or even glances. They act as they have since the day I first introduced them. How sick is it that she calls him her brother, but she screws him? I know so many people get a moment of clarity in situations like this, but I have none. Aside from being sad about my dad, I haven't changed. I'm still a loving wife and mother. I still doted on him and my children. I talked to him about how he was doing and how his day was every freaking day. I haven't allowed the ground to swallow me whole. I know what I have to do now, but I just don't want to. I'm about to lose my family and my support system in one blow. I'll confront him tomorrow. Today, I just need these last 24 hours of peace. As for her, I won't give her the satisfaction of a response. I don't care why she did it. She did it and it's done. I was always the friend who cleaned up her messes. After today, I will cut her out of my life like she never mattered at all. This has to be the hardest storm I'll ever weather, but damn it, I know I'll sail through it. If not for me, for my children. In the comments, OP provided a brief update. I spent the morning gathering everything I could and making a checklist. I sat in my office for the better part of the morning, telling my husband that I was preparing things for my dad. It's not a total lie. I did have to get him sorted with hospice today. My boss would be happy to have me back. However, my lawyer said to pump the brakes on that idea for the time being. However, my old boss did tell me that whenever I'm ready, the door is open and to just give her a call. He does not have access to my inheritance from my father or my mother. My lawyer assured me of that. I didn't mention her in the post, but my mother-in-law is an absolute angel. I love and adore her so much, and she's always been a shoulder to lean on. After he had gone to work for the afternoon, I asked my now ex-best friend's mom and my mother-in-law to meet me at my dad's house. My kids were outside playing with now ex-best friend's older brother. I just handed them the screenshots, saving them from the unsavory pictures and tape, though I did tell them it existed. To say they were furious was an understatement, and they are on my side completely. Angie, my now ex-best friend's mom, is ready to cut contact with her daughter completely. She kept repeating how sorry she was. We hugged and cried together. My mother-in-law told me she couldn't believe she raised a spineless, terrible human, and that no matter what happens, I will always have her. And as far as she's concerned, she doesn't have a son, only a daughter. After an in-person meeting with my lawyer, we went over finances, logistics, and everything else you could think of. She has all the proof and she's out for blood. With this post now on TikTok, I don't want him to find out by an app because one look at the story and he'd know it was about him, with permission from my lawyer. Several of my friends and family will be having a get-together tomorrow. By the time they're sitting down and showing them everything I know, my dad, my kids, and my ex-best friend's brother will be at my dad's cabin a few hours away enjoying time and space. I know a lot of people were hoping for me to get revenge or do psychological warfare, but honestly, after my kids went to bed, I took a shower and just broke. I don't have the strength or energy to dish anything out. I just want out. Pretending like everything was okay today was too exhausting, and I just don't want to do it. The next day, OP made another post titled, "Update to my husband is cheating on me with my best friend." But before we start, just some clarification. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are Ruth and Joe. My ex-best friend's parents are Angie and Bob. My ex-best friend is Jess and her brother is named Jake. STBX is named Tyler, and I'll just refer to my dad as Dad. I have a few things I want to get through, so I'll just summarize as best as I can. And if you have any questions, I'll answer in the comments to get this out of the way because to me, it feels important. Yesterday, I scheduled a same-day appointment with my OBGYN and got tested for just about every STD and STI out there. I got the results for most back and they were all negative. There are a few that take up to 2 weeks to get the results back, so I'll be waiting on those. When I met with my lawyer, I brought everything on my end financially, including the wills from both my dad and my mom, and I managed to get my hands on his financial documents. He stores his in his office in a locked box. I also brought over everything we had set up financially for my children. While I'm not totally sure if it's everything, I am pretty confident I got most of it. My lawyer was happy I managed to get my hands on that much. Ruth even handed over her will to me from both her and Bob to ensure I was taken care of in the divorce. My lawyer understands I want a divorce immediately. However, she wants to make sure she is thorough and isn't missing any key info. So hopefully I'll have actual divorce papers to give him in about 30 days. I'm not rushing her though. I'm letting the professional do her job. Now for the sit down. I asked Angie and Ruth to describe everything in detail about what happened. Angie, the revenge seeker she is, forced them to sit through a slideshow she put together of all of the texts. I know many of you were concerned about one of them telling them sooner than later, but they were so secretive they didn't even tell their significant others about what was happening. Once the slideshow ended, Tyler tried lunging for Jess, and Joe actually had to force him to sit down. Tyler was shouting profanities at Jess and telling her she would regret this. Jess started crying and begging her parents for forgiveness. Bob looked his daughter in the eye and told her he would never forgive her for this, blood or not. She was no daughter of his. He didn't raise his daughter to be this person. Jess was always a daddy's girl, so I think that cut her pretty deep. Jess is in the middle of a divorce herself, and her parents were giving her money for her lawyer, and they told her she is cut off from them both financially and physically. Tyler's dad was irate. According to Ruth, he looked like he was holding back on throttling him. From there, Tyler went straight home. I know because we have a Ring doorbell camera along with a few cameras in the house for our kids to keep an eye on them when we aren't right next to them. Tyler came home and saw that most of his and the kids' stuff was gone and he had lost it. Started yelling and throwing things. The house is now trashed with a few holes in the walls for decoration. When he didn't find us there, he went to my dad's. While I did spend most of the day, he was at work packing and moving things into my dad's house. We were already at his cabin. Tyler took a baseball bat to my dad's door, trying and failing to break it down. My dad's neighbor actually called the cops on him and he was arrested. His parents refused to bail him out. I had an appointment with my therapist today. I've had one for a year now since I was struggling with my dad, and it felt good to just cry it out and let everything out about how I was feeling. It was very helpful, and she gave me a few tools to work through my emotions with this one. I felt very grounded and empowered leaving my session today. I'm also planning on setting up my children with a therapist when we get back from the cabin to figure out the best way to deal with telling them. I know people said I shouldn't, but I will be telling them just in an age-appropriate way. I don't want there to be secrets and lies between us. I've always been as open and honest as I can with them, again in the most kid-appropriate way. Just because they're small humans, they're still humans and still deserve the truth. I had a handful of comments telling me I should stay and every man cheats. I should work things out because most of our marriage was good. I refuse to believe all men cheat. My parents were married for 20 years, and after my mom passed, my dad never moved on. I watched my dad love my mom for 12 of those years and cherish her. I will not accept anything less than that kind of love. He never cheated, nor did she. While I'm not sure when I'll be ready to move on, falling in love is the absolute last thing on my mind at the moment. I refuse to let Tyler win and destroy love for me completely. I will move on from this. Jess started blowing up my phone, demanding I fix the situation and immediately blaming me. My lawyer told me not to block texts just in case they spilled out any additional info I was missing. She was playing the poor me card very hard. The thing is, though, I never influenced Angie and Bob to cut contact with their daughter. They made that choice on their own. She actually started blaming me for stealing the love of her life. I introduced them when Tyler and I started dating, so I'm not sure where that came from, and Tyler is only with me for the kids. Honestly, I knew she was just trying to hurt me at that point. I didn't give her the satisfaction of responding though. Between her and Tyler, I have about 200 missed calls. Tyler went from begging and pleading with me to forgive him. Like I said, I didn't have divorce papers to hand him, so he's stuck in this unknown gray area. I also asked Angie and Ruth to not say anything about the divorce to him yet. Purely just for my satisfaction, honestly. I know it's slightly petty, but keeping him in that gray area of not knowing is my small revenge to him. To threatening to call the cops on me for kidnapping, telling me Jess wasn't the only one, to telling me I'm a stuck-up bitch, to threatening me, to back to begging me for forgiveness. Honestly, it was just a whiplash reading those texts. I'd be lying in saying if those texts didn't hurt me and terrify me all at once, but I refuse to let them break me. As for both of them together, I don't think he is going to stay with her. I think he blames her for blowing up our marriage, honestly. Who knows though, they deserve each other. I was initially okay to do a 50-50 split with Tyler for custody, but after his reaction, I don't feel comfortable with that, so I'll likely be going for full custody. Jake has about 30 days of leave he saved up, and he's going to be using them to help the kids. I get settled at my dad's house, and honestly, to be there in case Tyler tries showing up going crazy again. He's been such a big help to the kids and me lately, and I'm forever in his debt for this. Last night after the kids went to bed, he hooked up his Xbox and we played a game called Diablo 4 together to help me take my mind off of things. It was fun. However, he did sort of confess that he's always had feelings for me somewhere in the midst of things, but he also told me not to say or do anything back. He understands a relationship or anything like that isn't on my mind and won't be for a while, but just that he's felt that way since we were teenagers and just wanted to get it off his chest. Thank you again. Seriously, your comments, your support, your messages, all of it has been one giant breath of fresh air. Just knowing I have a whole online community willing to go to bat for me has kept me treading water these last couple of days. Your comments popped into my head when I felt like just giving up on leaving him because it's so hard. You gave me so many great points and helpful advice. I know I deserve more and I can't accept his actions. And to the people who commented relating to my situation, my heart goes out to you all. This pain is awful and I hate that so many of you can relate, but your stories have resonated deep within me. You all keep commending me for my strength, and my personal favorite is telling me how proud of me you are. Every time I see those words, I start to tear up, which I blame on the pregnancy hormones, but your words have helped put me at ease so that way I could do what I knew I needed to do. So for now, I'll leave it at this. If anything of importance happens when I go back home, I'll update further. Thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. A month later, OP provides another update. Hey everyone, I'm still getting daily messages and comments for an update, so here is what could possibly be my final one. My dad passed away about a week after my last update, and even though I knew it was coming, it still feels like a gut punch. Thank you for everyone who kept him in your thoughts. Truly. My marriage has officially ended. Once Tyler, I believe that's the fake name I assigned to him. Please don't call me out if it's not. It's been a while since I discovered just how serious I was about leaving him. He became compliant and was willing to give me everything I asked for in the divorce. So my lawyer opted for a dissolution versus divorce. The process is a lot quicker and went smoothly. As of right now, I have full custody while he works out his anger management and whatnot with therapy. I'm not sure if I'll ever trust him again with the kids, but I'm also in therapy as well are my kids. I'm not making any decisions at all right now when it comes to that. He gets supervised visits at a facility where there is an army of staff and security and someone is there at all times. That's once a week and he does get video calls twice a week. The kids are adjusting pretty well. There are days when I think it affects them more, but they've suffered some big losses, so it's to be expected. I did decide to give the baby my dad's first name though. It just felt right. But the baby is doing so very well and is thriving despite the amount of stress I've had going on. I'm managing as best as I can with everything going on. I miss my dad like crazy and I'm still trying to figure out how to exist in a world where he doesn't. The grief still is so very heavy. I'm still mourning my marriage as well. I don't regret leaving him, but it still hurts me deeply. However, I'm picking up the pieces and making my life whole without him. My mother-in-law, or rather my ex-mother-in-law and Angie helped me out so much. They've really allowed me to lean on them in these moments, whether it be taking the kids for a little while or cooking dinner for us when I don't have the energy. I truly am so lucky to have them. And finally, to what you all have been waiting to hear about, Jake. Jake is now back in California. He tried extending his leave, but the military said no. It was truly wonderful having him there and helping me. In the first few days after my dad's passing, he picked up so much slack for me that I will truly never be able to repay him for it. He is so patient and kind. That being said, nothing has happened between us. However, he did hold me while I broke down after the kids went to bed a few times, but that's the extent of it. No kissing or anything like that. He does call me and text me multiple times a day. Right now, I just don't have any room in my life for romance. I have so much grief and the weight of being a single mom has been heavy. He hasn't pushed me on it either. He let me know that he meant every word he said and that he's willing to just be my friend until I decide I want more if I ever decide I want more with him. I wish I could be the girl that jumps in with both feet, but the betrayal from my ex is still fresh and I'm worried I would burn anything out before it started. So I asked for friends and time to process everything else in my life before I even consider processing a new relationship. He happily agreed. Oh, and Tyler and Jess are not a couple. Most of you were right, he left her high and dry, though I don't wish misery on anyone. I'd be lying if I didn't say I get the smallest amount of satisfaction that her life went up in smoke. She's been blacklisted from her family, and I know a lot of you said it's weird that her parents did that, but if you guys knew just how deep my bond went with that family, it wouldn't seem weird at all. Angie is like my surrogate mom. She gave me the safe talk, the period talk, she listened to me cry about the boys who broke my heart, and she held my hand while I delivered my kids. When she talks about me, she calls me her daughter. She knew my mom for practically her whole life. She held my mom's hand when she delivered me, and if anything had happened to both of my parents, she is who I would have gone to live with. My parents had that in their will. So with all of that being said, please just be kind to me in the comments. I put this off for a few days because of how hostile some people were, and the prospect of being called a liar doesn't sound too appealing at the moment. Again, I can't thank you for the amount of light and love I've received from you. I promise I read every comment and message, I just haven't had the capacity to respond. You have really helped brighten my days with all of your words of encouragement. I appreciate you all. I am so lucky to have an army of internet friends. You guys are the best. Then there was one final update made a year later. First things first, I meant to update sooner, but if you saw Jake's comment, you know I was locked out of my account. Well, someone changed the password to my Reddit account and then the email to it as well. You'll never guess who it was. If you guessed Tyler, you'd be wrong. It was Jess. Let's rewind about a month ago. I'm cooking dinner for Jake and the kids while Jake is playing in my backyard with the kids. My front door opened and I figured it was one of my in-laws. They don't usually drop by unexpectedly, but Angie and ex-mother-in-law both have a key to my house since they help me out. It's just easier that way. Imagine my surprise when I'm chopping up carrots to see Jess waltz into my kitchen. I simply pointed the knife at the door and told her to get the hell out of my house before I called the cops and pressed charges for breaking and entering and trespassing. I wasn't concerned with how she got into my house. I just wanted her out and would figure the rest out later. She started screaming bloody murder and was calling me psycho for threatening her with a knife. Jake heard the screams and rushed inside. His immediate response was to restrain Jess because he thought she was hurting me even though there was a solid 15 feet between us. He dragged her out of the house and told her to leave. She was screaming that she would ruin my life and all she was coming over to do was ask for forgiveness. Well, she called the cops on us and made up this elaborate story about how we lured her to my house to set her up, how I tried to stab her, and Jake was punching her repeatedly. She had zero proof, and I have cameras hitting every angle of the outside of my house and in all of the main rooms on the inside of my house. Naturally, I just pulled up the footage and showed the cops, and they left, taking her with them. Jake has spent the night at my house every night since then. Since then, she has hacked into every single last one of my social media accounts, including Reddit. She posted some truly awful and hateful things on my Facebook and Instagram. I'm thankful she didn't manage to post anything on Reddit before I got it back. She spammed my job, I'm a nurse at our local hospital, with complaints and some truly awful fabricated stories about me. After a week of suspension to investigate, I was welcomed back after everything I told my boss and my boss's boss, HR, and everyone else above me proved to be true. I filed for a restraining order against her and my children when she tried to pick up my oldest from her school without anyone's knowledge. Thankfully, I already had a talk with the school about this and gave them a strict only these people can pick up my child, everyone else you send away, call the cops, or whatever you need to do when Tyler got violent in front of the kids a while back, and they escorted her off school grounds and kept her very close by for pickup until they saw me. Right now, I got an emergency order approved, but will have to go to court for a more permanent one within the next month, so I will let you know how that goes. She must have had a key from when we were growing up together or something because Angie and her husband have not spoken to her, nor has she had access to them or their home. I got the locks changed immediately. The Tyler update is that there is none. He still hasn't reached out to see his kids, hasn't asked about them. He's been a ghost. We were eating dinner with Jake about a week ago when my oldest quietly said she wished Jake was her dad and that her real dad never played with them and was really mean when I wasn't home or looking, which really just confirmed my fears. They were too accepting of him being gone, and now I know why. I did learn through the grapevine, which is my ex-mother and father-in-law, that he is already remarried and has another kid on the way. Mother-in-law told me they got a baby shower and wedding invite in the mail. Honestly, I feel bad for the new wife. The kids are truly just wonderful. Still in therapy, but the therapist has nothing but positive things to say after their sessions now. She did mention that my oldest brought up calling Jake dad, but I'll be honest, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. Jake has made it clear that once we're married, he fully intends to adopt the kids. But that is another conversation for another day, haha. I don't want to deter her from having a bond with him, but it still feels too soon, you know. My middle child seems to have forgotten Tyler completely and is my usual ray of sunshine. I've seriously never met a happier kid. The baby is babbling away, smiling, and laughing now. Can y'all believe it? I am truly blessed with such wonderful kids. Now, as for Jake, I have never felt such happiness before. He was genuinely concerned at how many people were commenting asking if we were still together and told me, "You better update right now and tell them we're still together." I wish you guys could hear just how funny he truly is. I officially allowed him to give me the title of girlfriend, though he says I've been his girlfriend practically this whole time, haha. He has been sleeping over essentially every night. He says it's under the guise of being worried Jess might show back up, but secretly I think it's because he hates being away from the kids. Whenever he's at work or anywhere that isn't my house, he will text whoever is with the kids, asking for picture updates of them and expresses how much he misses them. It's actually really sweet. He's been allowing me to set the pace still, just also helping give me a nudge when I need it. He's attended a few of my therapy sessions with me to help get a better understanding of what I need from him in terms of this relationship. Jake is honestly just everything I could have asked for. I'm lucky to love him. So there is a lot to unpack. I thought that this story was pretty much going to end with OP and Tyler divorcing, but hearing about how Jess actually showed up on OP's doorstep was kind of insane. It also really sucks to hear that Tyler was actually hurting his kids when OP was not around. Something else that I also find very hilarious and infuriating is just how entitled some people are. For example, when Jess blamed OP for her parents disowning her. Overall, the ending was very good. It seems that OP is moving on and has found someone who is truly kind. But unfortunately, it seems like someone else out in the world now has to suffer from Tyler's shenanigans. This next post was created in 2018 and is titled, "Served her at the hotel while they were sleeping in. Hello guys, I hope you are all doing well. This is a pretty long and messed up story. Sorry for any errors. I am writing on my phone. I've come to the end of my rope and have no idea how to navigate this mess. A bit of background. I'm a 43-year-old male and my significant other is a 40-year-old woman. We have been married for 16 years. We have 2 kids, a 14-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. Our marriage was rocky initially, but we made it through those tough years and came out much better from them. We married young, so maturity wasn't all there yet, but we knew we loved each other and could conquer any obstacle that came between our marriage. I'm still not sure whether this was wishful thinking. Anyway, my wife is a manager of a very big advertising company, and I've been in engineering for 7 years. Both our jobs pay well and gave our family a pretty good lifestyle. We were a very tight-knit family. We always make sure as parents that we are there for our kids to create great memories. No matter how busy we got, we always made time for our kids. Honestly, I consider myself a good dad and husband. I messed up sometimes when it came to my wife, but I did nothing for this woman, and it honestly shocked me to my core when I found out that she was in a long-term affair. Which brings me to discovery. Wife was acting distant. In fact, the last 2 years before this one were the hardest. She just didn't seem to like anything I did. She kept comparing me to her boss and would always tell me how he would handle this or that. I can't read her mind, but her boss can. I don't take the initiative and take her on dates and make her feel special. Well, her boss does that for his wife. Why was I so immature? I would ask what she wanted me to do to spice up our love life. Her answer usually is, "Don't ask, you need to already know and do it." Researched and brought books. Since I was clueless, someone else had to have the answer. Anything I attempted was met with either half-hearted appreciation or bitter disappointment. My wife was never like this in the years I've known her, so I thought that inability to make her happy was something I seriously needed to fix. Little did I know it wasn't me who was doing the fixing the entire time. We were very close to her boss and his wife. They also have kids, and the kids loved each other. We brought them to our barbecues, family outings to the park, game days at the arcade. They have been to our house numerous times, and we've been to theirs. It's no surprise that we became close. I would confide in her boss about our marital problems. He gave me good advice. I thought he was a swell guy. Anyway, back to the discovery. I had grown emotionally tired from my wife's demands to better myself or the marriage was done. I was honestly shocked by her attitude because before all this, I thought we had a great marriage. So one night she was busy laughing and giggling while texting someone. I was next to her in bed and was curious. The moment I leaned my head to take a peek, she viciously pulled away from me. She was angry instantly, asking me what I was doing. I told her I wanted to see what the joke was, and she told me it was none of my business and retreated to the bathroom. I think that's the day when I just knew deep down that there was an affair of sorts going on. I did not have proof though. I made the mistake of asking her directly the next day. She was furious and denied any wrongdoing. I did not have access to her phone, but I wanted the truth terribly. I asked for her phone and she refused. Only later during the night did she grudgingly give me the phone. Almost every text message she sent to specific people was deleted. I could tell because some conversations seemed inconsistent and others downright ridiculous. I gave her the phone back and we did not speak of it until a month later when I was able to get a buddy on it to check the phone and recover deleted texts. My wife had gotten another phone prior and hardly used the one she handed to me. Some texts were recovered and it was through bits and pieces that I finally had proof that there was an affair going on, and you already guessed it, with her boss. I just knew if I confronted her then and there, she would find some way to weasel out of it, so I bid my time. I was a wreck though. All I could think about was how it was going to affect the kids. The situation was horrible, and I cried in front of my buddy. I still did not want to give up the marriage, so 3 days later, I bought How to Help Your Spouse Heal from an Affair. I started reading, hoping that if I gave it to my wife, she would stop this nonsense. I wanted my wife back, and I wanted to save the marriage. I had planned on talking to her on that Saturday to work things out, but she had told me they had an emergency at work and not to wait up on her. Of course, I contacted the workplace on the day to confirm the story she gave me and received no answer. They were not open on Saturdays. I tried her phone, but there was no answer. She came back home at 2 in the morning on Sunday and immediately showered and then came to bed. I asked why she was late, and she dodged the question by saying that she already told me not to wait for her. I was sick of this. I did not give her the book I brought. I was suffering and she didn't care. She saw me suffering and didn't care. I contacted her boss's wife to find out if she knew anything. I was so desperate for stability, and to this day, I don't regret doing that. She was as shocked as I was when finding out. She wanted to confront her husband, but I told her he would probably lie and try to hide it better, like my wife did. We met at her house to discuss what was going on, and I gave her the little evidence that we had. She wanted more evidence, so we both decided to gather evidence on each of our sides and compare them. I started snooping on my wife more, and she did the same with her husband. It was very easy on her end to find undeniable proof. Her husband was so arrogant that he didn't even delete the text on his phone between him and my wife, and the little text I found earlier finally made sense, and we had a whole picture of how long the affair was, 2 years. The boss's wife was livid, and so was I. She wanted to get revenge on them, and so did I. They slept together everywhere. Her house, my house, expensive hotels, business trips. It was sickening to read all that. They even sent each other pics, but we decided to ignore the pics because we didn't want to scar ourselves with the images. We wanted revenge, but not an affair ourselves. We both decided that if they wanted each other, then they could have each other. We both drew divorce papers at round about the same time. We were dead set on it. Our spouses didn't know that we knew, and we acted our part. By the time our ducks were in a row, they were at it again. This time, through collaborating with the boss's wife, we knew exactly where and how they were going to be served. We knew which hotel they booked for their weekend of fun. I personally went there with the sheriff. I waited in the lobby as the sheriff got everything working, and my wife was called to come down from her room. She did, dressed in a bathrobe, and I fear nothing else. She's panicking, frantically asking me what I was doing there. It was quite a distance from our home, but not too far. The sheriff asked for confirmation of her name and information. She confusedly answered in the affirmative and was served. It was very satisfying seeing the shocked look on her face, but I did not want to rub it in, so I decided to walk away knowing the job was done. She didn't let me and was holding my arm, pulling me back and demanding to know what was the meaning of this. I told her, "You had an affair and I'm leaving you. Simple." She started screaming at me and pulling my arm hard. The sheriff had to step in and tell her to release me at once. She did so and started crying, telling me she could explain. I had the wrong idea. It's my fault. I was getting angry, so I left quickly to get home. My wife told her boss and he panicked. From what I was told, he rushed home only to be served there. We did not give them time to get their heads on straight. We blindsided them just like they did us. My divorce will be finalized in a couple of months. Hers might be taking a bit longer. Both my wife and her boss have been fighting us on the divorces. Neither wants to get divorced. The excuses I hear is that they never intended to leave their spouses. It was a purely affair, nothing more. People have worse affairs and still come out with a great marriage. They up and would like a chance to unfuck the situation. I have asked my wife what she thought the outcome of all this was. She said she was going with the flow and acted completely out of character. She is not that person anymore. I told her she's an idiot. People around me are calling me evil for not giving my wife another chance. My kids know what's going on and they are behind me 100%, but I would like it if we stayed together. My resolve is slipping, coupled with the fact that we still live in the same house and my wife is going to therapy and reading the book I brought. It's getting harder to stick to my guns. She says she's remorseful and will do whatever it takes. All I tell her is that she's sorry she got caught and that's all I need to know. She's called me a bitter, resentful person who can't look past all the negativity. She apologized for it later, but I know that's how she feels. The boss's wife and I still talk, and my wife absolutely hates that. She thinks I'm going to have a revenge affair, or her boss's wife is the reason I will not give us another chance. She has asked me repeatedly to initiate no contact with her boss's wife, just like she did with her boss. I told her she was crazy. We didn't do anything wrong, and why should I respect your opinions now? See, I think I'm done. I have no respect for her. I told her she was not going to manipulate me with sex. She says it's not manipulation and she just wants to show me how much she loves me. I corrected and said, love me now, you mean. People around me are frustrated with me, including my mom, because they say people make mistakes, and my wife realizes through her mistakes that she truly does love me. I told people that I would never be anyone's fallback plan. I feel very bad for treating her the way I do. I still love her even though there's hate there. Am I being unnecessarily cruel to her? She's trying really hard, but I just don't care. Should I reconsider the divorce? People are saying I'm moving too quickly and I will regret it. Is that true? I don't know what's real and what's not. OP provided several updates, but the most important one was created in 2019. It's titled Officially Divorced, plus the date with OBS, TMI warning. It's been a long time coming. I did mention before that I would come back and update for the last time here. It's over, my ex and I have officially separated for good. It happened almost 3 weeks ago. For the better part of a few days after the fact, I grieved like I lost a loved one. I think it hit me extremely hard that my marriage failed so spectacularly. Never cried that hard ever since I discovered the affair in the first place. I raged a lot too. Definitely one of my lowest points. Everything has been organized for my ex. She moved out of the house and I'm looking to buy her out of her part of it. She lives in an apartment now, very big downgrade for her, and it pretty much depresses her. She is still going to the therapist, still invested in reading and studying infidelity. I don't exactly understand why. We've had talks after the divorce. I know I shouldn't entertain her now, but she's still the mother of my kids and I want us to be good co-parents. I'm nothing if not logical about the situation, largely thanks to this community and others. Of course, it's the same tune. She wants to reconcile, and I think it's too risky for me to put myself in that situation again. Unfortunately, I'm not in the mood to give her that gift. This past weekend, I accompanied OBS to dinner with no intention of enjoying each other's company and chatting. We talked about all sorts of things. Things got flirty between us, and I must admit I was very reluctant to entertain the rapidly changing mood. Well, I guess I should say the night ended in a very passionate way. Sorry for TMI, it was probably the most mind-blowing I've ever had. OBS is very much a giver and spades above my ex. I did not intend for it to go that far, but OBS was willing and I was as well. Learned quite a few more tricks in the sack. This was the first time I ever had someone who was enthusiastic to please me and not the other way around. I guess I shouldn't call her OBS anymore as she divorced her ex, but for privacy's sake I'll just use that. I do not think we will take our relationship further, to be honest. I think the hormones and wine got the best of us that night. She would like to, but I am undecided. I need to sort myself out emotionally, and I think she does as well. I feel very good though. People might not like hearing this, but the I had with OBS really helped a lot with my residual self-esteem issues. I felt desired, alive, and finally understood what I was missing out on. I will never settle for robotic sex again. What was more satisfying was knowing that I was not cheating and did not lower my morals. All things considered, I'm very proud of how I handled all this crap. I wasn't perfect, but did the best I could. I'm probably coming out very lucky compared to many, even if I did lose a substantial amount of money in this process. But it was because I was willing to absorb advice and listen to people with experience instead of going in blind and hoping for the best. For that, I will be forever grateful to you guys. You and everyone who lent me an ear saved me from destroying my self-worth even further. Takeaways. Respect yourself. Never, ever accept disrespect from anyone else, not even the people closest to you. Everyone deserves a healthy, fulfilling relationship. Never settle for scraps from your partner. Every committed relationship should include a healthy and fulfilling life. If your partner is not giving his or her all to you, but did so before with someone else, do not tolerate it. I'm not advocating for simply lay out your dissatisfaction. If your partner isn't willing to meet them, do not settle for boring unless you both agree on it. It is okay to walk away from that. Communicate, communicate, communicate. I cannot stress how super important that is. If you're ever betrayed, only you can truly heal yourself. It took a long time for me to understand this. There are many more, but that's all I can think of right now. I'll be available to answer comments that you may have, but in about a few hours from now, I'm done posting here for good and moving on with my life. Have a good one, everyone. Luckily, OP figured everything out and now has his life sorted. Being completely honest, I was sort of getting the feeling that OP was a bit of a pushover. I don't want that to come across as victim blaming or anything, but her wife had already done the deed, so trying to passively move forward would not work. It was only when he put his foot down and actually aggressively making plans did things really start working out for him.